Hey, and welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff. You are here on the HODL review. Today, we are going to dig into something I think is pretty interesting. It has a little bit to do with Ripple XRP, a little bit to do with the bridge to all digital currency. Now, what is this all about? We are kind of going to dig in a little bit into the XRPL. There's a couple articles that I think really highlighted all of this real well. But when you look at what the XRPL, what Ripple and XRP bring to the digital currency market, then we look at what's going on with the rise of the centralized digital currency. That's what it's all about. And let's get started right now.
And now, the HODL review with Jeff on the Chain.
All right, there you go. We are back. So this is going to be a little bit crazy because we're going to go through this and we're going to try to get through it as fast as possible. There are obviously, some really amazing things going on in this space right now. But there was this really, really good article that came out just a couple days ago. It came out August 31st, and it was on Ripple.com. It was on the Insights. The title of the article, Why Unifying Payments Infrastructure Will Boost Financial Inclusion. Now I could get this up behind me. We can go through it, but I know most of you guys are watching on your mobile device, so going through it, we'll just highlight that I'm looking at the article. But there's some real key points in this article that I thought I needed to talk about. So there was a conversation that actually was with Stefan Thomas. And from that conversation, they really brought out some poignant quotes when it has to do with the idea of not living within an economy of walled gardens. So an economy of these centralized currencies that don't communicate well with each other, with limited interoperability. So the first quote that I'm pulling out of this article that I thought was right on point. Pre-internet, you had all these different communication companies that had their own cables and their own wires and their own satellites. The internet is a generic communication infrastructure. So this is already kind of highlighting legacy versus the future. You can use it for any kind of communication you want. And so he goes on. I think about ILP, general infrastructure for the movement of value. So here he goes. This really breaks it down, right? So you have all these different cable companies still exist today, where you have Comcast, Xfinity, they run their own cable. AT&T runs their own cable. The different DirecTV has their own satellite. But there's not much interoperability between them other than the fact that they carry similar programming on each one of these channels. They basically do the same thing, similar to the idea if you have a centralized currency, they're doing the same thing. They're bringing value. They're allowing you to spend money. However, how do you now make it interoperable? How do you now bring it someplace else to another country? And so he goes on here. For the majority of people, a centralized system is great. But if you're part of a marginalized population, which you find in many countries, the central authority is not going to care about your needs very much. And that's right on point. Think about China. And the next article we look at is going to be exactly China with their central bank digital currency. Do they really care about those in the margins? Not so much. Is it good for those in the elite class? Pretty good. When they create a centralized economy, digital economy, whatever it might be, is it going to be good for the upper class there? Pretty much. Is it going to cause some issues in the marginal aspect of society? Most likely. And we already know through that centralized mechanism, there's also a control mechanism that's built into it. So he continues. A decentralized system is better at serving more obscure use cases because people can take more of a self-help approach, which is exactly what we talk about a lot when it comes to cryptocurrency and the digital asset space. that it's bringing an opportunity to people all over the world. I don't care what country you're in, if you're in Latin America, if you're in Africa, you're in Asia, you're in Europe, you're in the US, it doesn't matter. It's giving people that opportunity to self-help, to create something out of nothing, to create a business, to create wealth, to invest for the first time. So I think that's really, really key. Now let's go in. So let's take this idea of what Stefan Thomas was bringing up, the idea of interoperability. So in the title of, again, why unifying payment infrastructure will boost financial inclusion. Everybody. So if you're in these silos, anybody outside that silo doesn't work so well. So as we bounce over to China, now what's going on in China? Why do I keep singling out China in every single video that I make when it has to do with the central bank digital currency? Well, China is on the forefront of bringing this out. Now the question is, and this article was so spot on, this was on Yahoo News, crazy that it's even on Yahoo News, but it was pulled from South China Morning Post. This was yesterday, so brand new, fresh off the press. This is the title of the article, China's sovereign digital currency plans must be globally compatible to internationalize the yuan. That's what analysts are saying. So if it is not compatible internationally, it's going to be a silo. It's going to be good for China, no one else. Now, what's the goal of China? They're trying to destabilize the US dollar as the reserve currency. They're trying to circumvent some of the control mechanism that the US dollar, the supremacy the US dollar has had for many, many years, especially when it comes to a country like China that wants to maybe interact and trade in Iran or North Korea or Venezuela or what have you. Or they're trying to find a way to control the region around them, right, in Asia or beyond. But now, for China to be successful with the digital yuan, we need interoperability, right? We need to have globally compatible digital currencies in order for them to succeed, in order for them to become international. So this is really poignant, because what did we just read about with Stefan Thomas? What in that last article from Ripple and Ripple XRP, the primary focus point there was to help those in the margins, to make sure that people do not get marginalized. Now, what happens if China creates this digital currency? What happens? Is it inclusive or does it become exclusive? Thinking about those in the marginal parts of society that are still more agrarian, that are more in the agricultural part of society. They're not in the urban areas. There's a lot of people that still live there, and they still live on fiat currency. They might not be as digitalized as the rest of the country. Now, does China think about the impact on the margins? And so are they going to then marginalize the rest of the populace, or are they going to then potentially marginalize themselves as they roll out this digital currency and they try then to interact with other countries? Obviously, you need interaction, you need interoperability. So I thought this was kind of a nice segue, a nice direction to move in. Now, from this was an outstanding article. I wish I could, dig into this and really go through it in depth, both politically and economically. It was written by Marco Polo. Big shout out to Marco Polo. This was on Coil. I'm going to put links to these articles down below in the descriptions. You guys can go check them out. This one was just outstanding. So, Marco here, Marco Polo digs in. The title of his article, Ripple and the Pax Americana, Regulations, Digital Assets, and Global Affairs. It's so spot on, just the title. We don't even have to get into his article. The article gets into so much. I mean, it was outstanding. And he starts off talking about an article that was featured in The Hill with Chris Larson, co-founder and executive chairman of Ripple. So he starts off, first paragraph of the article. Let's read it. I think it's great. suggested that the lack of clear regulatory clarity on cryptocurrencies and digital assets has put the United States in a position where it may lose its place as the global reserve currency once China tokenizes the yuan. So it's perfect. So here we go from Stefan Thomas talking about the importance of interoperability, don't live in a silo, to looking at China. Are they marginalizing themselves? Are they marginalizing the rest of the society? You know, what's going on when they roll out their digital yuan? Can they be successful? Can they unseat the US dollar and allow it to then lose its position as a global reserve currency? I mean, it's amazing. So he goes on here, at the very least, the loss of such stature or the presence of a significant digital alternative to which the United States has no answer, because the U.S. has been dragging their feet for a long time. Obviously, the powers that be that are in control of Congress, people like Maxine Waters and others, they don't get it. Right? They don't get it. They look at it more from maybe the China centralized perspective of control, but not so much the rest of it. Or for, American greatness or whatever. They're not looking at that. So this is good. At the very least, the loss of such stature or the presence of a significant digital alternative to which the U.S. has no answer could enable nation states to bypass the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency, casting the current unipolar currency structure into doubt. So, unipolar currency, that means the US dollar, pretty much the supreme currency of its time right now. Now, it has so many meanings. And like I said, there's so much going on here in this article as he's bringing out what Chris Larson was talking about. Highlights this other point here. Yeah, it continues. But I would like you to consider the effect that this would have on the application of American coercive power on the world stage and what would follow after that power diminishes. So here we go. We start talking about interoperability, the significance and importance of economies communicating with each other, working with each other, to China as a leader in the space right now, yet they need to work and be functional globally with all the other digital currencies that are taking place. Now we take a step forward. The concern is that China is already in kind of that lead spot, in that lead position, but are they really? What's missing? So it goes on, and this is through Chris Larson and how Marco Polo is quoting all this. So he says, while the scenario is alarming, I don't feel that he went far enough in describing just how serious the implication of this loss of stature could be. Because it's not just, minimally loss of stature. It's a global issue. So what have we seen so far from the American exceptionalism as a whole? Taking on the Soviet Union, taking on the Islamist terrorist element, the terrorist threat. It goes on and on and on. Think about the amount of technology that's been developed in the United States as the U.S. has taken a lead role globally from World War I to World War II, through the Cold War with the Soviet Union and beyond. So people tend to live history a little bit different, maybe from an ideological, utopia perspective in these what if scenarios, but it's never just, kind of a black and white, obvious. There's all these gray areas. So with the rise of the Soviet Union and the Cold War, the idea that their objective was to dominate, have world domination through communism. Look at Eastern Germany when the wall fell in Berlin. Who helped and was the impetus to bringing the wall down. So there's all these elements of what the U.S. brings to the world stage, but beyond that is you have different aspects of your power through the U.S. dollar being this reserve currency and attached to the one country that has led the charge of freedom against many of these imperial attempts of takeover throughout history, throughout our recent history. So it's so amazing, to think about this transition as we kind of go through step by step by step. Now, where does that leave the U.S.? We can get into this article. This is like a whole topic on its own. Freaking amazing. But check it out in the link below. Let's move on to the next step. Outstanding article. This was banking.senate.gov. This was yesterday. So there's a senator, Senator Mike Crapo, a Republican in Idaho. Hang on one second. He is the chairman of the U.S. Senate Committee on Banking. So why is this exciting? Because yesterday he sent a letter to the office of the comptroller of the currency, OCC, encouraging it to develop rules of the road for the use of cryptocurrencies and or distributed ledger tech. This is all quoted in payments for national banks. So we know already that there was some rules passed within OCC to allow banks to hold crypto, so to custody crypto. So things are moving, right? So here we go. We start with Ripple XRP, understanding kind of the dynamics there. What's going on? Are we losing our competitive edge in China? Then Marco Polo kind of reminds us of the significance of American exceptionalism, why it's so significant, where the US dollar has been all these years. What's the next step? So the next step here is what Senator Mike Crapo, sorry, butchered it, is asserting that right now we need to achieve a level where there's rules of the road, kind of operational rules of cryptocurrencies to allow this space to thrive and develop. So continuing in this article, the OCC is seeking input on the digital activities of banks and federal savings associations. Chairman Crapo's letter requests an update on its findings and information regarding next steps the OCC intends to take with this technology. So it's outstanding. It's amazing as he gets into it. Some of the key points that he highlighted here to Brian Brooks. What activities related to cryptocurrency or crypto assets are financial services company or bank customers engaged in, and what are the barriers or obstacles to further adoption of crypto-related activities in the banking industry? So, fantastic, right? How is distributed ledger technology used or potentially used in activities related to banking? What new payment technologies and processes should the OCC be aware of, and what are the potential implications of these technologies and processes for the banking industry? I mean, everything is spot on, right? We just looked through this process. Here's where the U.S. is. We have elements in the U.S. that are pushing for some normalcy. He finalized here. What new or innovative tools do financial service companies use to comply with regulations and supervisory expectations? So this is really, really impressive that we're seeing this level of conversation that's going on right now in the Senate. And this is the Senate Committee on Banking. So regardless of the fact, if we're starting to see Congress kind of dragging their feet, we see that Senate is picking up the mantle and they're moving things in the right direction. I mean, this is so impressive to see kind of the development and the movement here, right? I mean, this is ideal. This is really ideal. Can we read a lot into it? Obviously we can. We know the direction that the digital asset crypto space is going in. But when you start seeing the reality, the actual utility, the functional utility within the digital currency space, but beyond that, because we don't care about centralized digital currencies. We don't care about the digital yuan per se, other than the fact that they're trying to take that lead edge in the control mechanism. What we care about is to see the fact that they're moving regulatory clarity in the digital currency, digital asset space as a whole. We know that governments and countries are going to look for their own sovereign centralized currency, yet we understand, through what we just went through, that you need the internationalization, cohesion, interoperability of it to actually be functional and work. Yet it's amazing, right? So here we are right now. We see the Senate, pushing forward to get some more clarity from the OCC to better understand what's going on in the space. Things are getting ready to go into hyperdrive. I'm fired up. I think this was important. Yeah, I'm really glad that you guys were here with me today. I should have asked right in the beginning, thumbs up, thumbs down, comment, subscribe. You guys get the gist, right? I mean, it's all really, really important. And that's it. Hey, check us out. Saturday morning live stream right here, 8 a.m., Sunday evening, 8 p.m. for the roundtable. I'll check you out in a little bit. Let me see. Where's that button?
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.